Hello, welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. We are super excited to welcome Anna Bond to our channel. Anna is BookEnds' newest global rights director, and in the past few months has whipped us all into shape on our global rights. So we are excited to welcome her not only to BookEnds, but also to the channel and talk all things global slash foreign slash international rights selling.
So, Anna, can you just tell us a little? I mean, I think most of our viewers will know, but like sort of what does it mean to be the global rights director? What do you do? And I think part of that would be like, is it just translation rights or so run with it. We'll let you go.
Yeah, so hi everybody. So being the global rights director is basically making bookends books travels around the world.
Oh, I love that.
So what I do is get all the books that we have rights to translate in other languages and present it to the international market and convince people to publish them in their languages. So for that, we elaborate beautiful rights guides that are more or less catalogs of the books we have available for translation, and then we distribute it. We work with more or less partners around the world, which we call co-agents. So these people help us bring the books to their markets because it's impossible for us to reach every country, every corner of the world. So we have representatives that either work with countries like Germany or France, because these are like big countries with a lot of publishers, or we have other co-agents that will work with regions. So for example, they will do Czech and other smaller countries around there, or Ukraine and other Baltic countries. And so we mainly talk to these people, and they talk to the publishers in those countries or territories to sell our books.
In the same way, really, authors have us as their agents. They also have you, and then you have your agents throughout the world, which is pretty cool. I do want to do a quick shout out because Anna mentioned the beautiful guide, which is absolutely gorgeous. And you can find it on our website if you go to the Global Rights tab. So any author who wants a sneak peek of what a rights guide would look like, there it is.
Yes.
So on the co-agent front, we recently met in person for the first time last week, which was super fun. But we were talking about going direct and how much you love to go direct too, and like directly sell to publishers. So is it a co-agent required for every single territory around the world, or I guess I kind of spoiled the answer, but
They are not required, but it's in some places it is required. For example, in Japan, people don't speak English very well, like not well enough to be negotiating details and small, the nitty gritty of contracts.
right.
So that would be very difficult for us to go and discuss directly with them. And in China is a little bit like that too. So for those kinds of territories, and also when the culture is very, very different, we need to have somebody who understands both cultures, and who speaks both languages very well, because otherwise it gets very difficult.
Yeah.
And sometimes we also need them, because we can only have our contracts in English. We can't have a Japanese contract for
Yeah.
bookends.
Right, right.
So in some territories, they are absolutely necessary.
Right.
Also because sometimes the tax regulations are very complicated,
Oh
or
yeah.
even the copyrights regulations are very complicated, and there's no way we can know all of those things. So
Right.
there are some territories where they are absolutely necessary, but there are other territories that we could do it ourselves. For
Right.
example, I'm from Brazil, And I've worked before coming to the United States and working as a foreign rights agent. I was a translator for a long time there, and I know all the publishing market. So I could easily go direct in Brazil, but also that's a lot more work, and we would need more hands on board to be able to do that, because when I have a co-agent, I'm sending my stuff to one person. Right. Whereas when I'm doing a submission, it's like what our agents do, right? So I'll have to pitch to, I don't know, minimum of 25 people at the same time. And that's like a lot of more manual work. So the co-agents also save us time like that, because it's not possible to have a big foreign rights department in a relative small agent.
Right. Which makes sense.
Yeah. And I think also would be helpful to clarify for authors who have not had experience selling translation rights that those co-agents will then share in the commission as well. So they are just as much as invested in the books, their sale, and the success of those books as we are.
Yes, and the commission doesn't change. If we go direct or if we go with the co-agent, if we go direct, we get the whole commission. And if we have a co-agent, we split in equal parts.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So I have a question that I'm sure everyone's asking is, how do you know when a book can be sold abroad?
Yeah, so usually a book can be sold abroad. First of all, bestsellers. Like, of course, the US continues to be a leader in the cultural tastes around the world, not only because of like movies and TV in general, and but now also with like all the social media and all the books that explode on social media and all of that. So people do go after those things that they see on the media. So that's like the first thing. But also there's the books. I think that the most important thing for me as the job that I have is important, like to disseminate different ideas. So I think through books, of course, is our chance to get to know different things and different ways of life and different ideas and ways of thinking. So the books have to have an attractive, for example, if you're talking about something very American that does not translate to other cultures, then it's difficult, you know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but would that hold true even if it's a bestseller, that there are times bestsellers even won't sell in different places because it's very American, or typically once it reaches a certain echelon on the bestseller list, no matter what?
It depends. It's true that sometimes it does. For example, I can talk about Brazil because I know that better. For example, we don't play football. We call it American football.
American football,
or
yep.
hockey.
Right.
Like there's those things are unknown in that country. Baseball, all of those things. But those sport romance things do well there.
Right.
You know, those kinds of things do well there.
Right.
So there are some things that do go. But for example, if you are discussing some very specific society trends or things that are very unique to a country, no matter which country, then it's difficult. For example, it's difficult to sell romance in Asia because the way of life is so different and the way love happens is very different. So for example, in Korea, it's impossible to sell a romance book because they buy all of their romance books from Japan. because they have the similar culture.
Yeah.
So it gets difficult. But for example, if you're discussing some subject that is in the collective mindset, and or something that's in vogue, let's say, so either now it's all this romantasy, so all the dragon stuff, so everybody wants to have that,
Right.
so but I think that for to have a book travel, it does have to have a dialogue. It can't be very closed on something. And also, something that's important is that the way to sell a book to the foreign market is not the same way that we sell a book to the internal market. So if your pitch is gonna say, oh, this happens in this small town called this in the state of whatever, I'm not gonna say that, because they don't know what the state of whatever is.
Right.
So I have like to dress it in a different way that makes it more all encompassing, and that it can fit in any other kind of way of thinking, that
Right.
it's not talking about this very American town or this very American way of life or even this very American products,
Yeah.
so I do have to adapt my pitches so they don't sound that American.
Right. Which makes a lot of sense, which to every author who complains about pitches, we're all doing it.
Yeah. So we do have that. We have to be careful, not just to take the pitch that the agents are using in their when they sell to the US. We have to adapt and have our own. So what is important for this one?
Right.
Because like I remember once when in another job that I had, we had a book that had a blurb by a soccer player, and they could not care less about this blurb in the US. But for the foreign market, that was the blurb that was going to get people to pay attention, because there was a famous soccer player.
Yeah.
That it was an Italian guy. And so you don't know what that is, but all the rest of the world knows.
Right.
So I have to pay attention to that. So which blurb is more important for me? It's not the PW
Right.
blurb. It's the Elle blurb, because Elle is a magazine that is everywhere. It's the Vogue blurb, because Vogue is also everywhere. So it's like I have to make the book or the author be recognized in that market. So why is the book important in the other markets outside the US? I really have to change the focus.
Yeah. Of course, that makes sense. So now you are getting ready for Frankfurt Book Fair, which is a really big deal and very exciting. For those who maybe have only heard of Frankfurt Book Fair, can you talk to us a little bit about what it's like, what you do there, all of those things, and give people sort of a vision of what it's like to go?
Yes, so going to the book fairs is my favorite part of this job. And I'm very happy because I'll be the first person from BookEnds going to a book fair ever. So that makes me very proud. And so what happens there is that there is a part of it that is like a traditional book fair, like all the consumers and the authors would go, which is for the German public. So there is a part that is like that, but there's a part of the fair that's like no other in the world. It's the biggest trade fair in the world. So there are publishers from all over the world that come, and they have stands and they display their products. And it's not only books, there are people like selling bookmarks or those little lights to read books. There's like everything that you can think of. There's people selling technology. There's people, everything connected to books, people are selling. And there are buildings, like multiple buildings, where they have international publishers displaying their books and doing business. And for us, there is a place called the Literary Agents Center. And this place is like just a giant room with more than 600 tables.
Oh, wow.
We have one of those tables.
We
So,
do.
yeah. So what I do, I sit on that table all day long from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And we have, and I'm booked back to back. We have half-hour meetings. So every half hour, I receive somebody who comes from all the different countries. So I'm going to see, like I mentioned, all the co-agents. I'm going to see them. And also I'm going to see editors, because even though I'm not dealing with them directly, it's still good to have this face-to-face interaction and show them our list, because sometimes, they don't know what we do, and they don't know that we have more books that they could be interested in, because sometimes also the co-agent will not show all the books. They just gonna show, like, they think, oh, so this publisher might like this one book, so they're gonna show them that one book, but then they don't know that BookEnds have another 10 books that they might like.
Right.
So I go and see these people and I talk to them, and I also find out what they might like.
And because co-agents are working, it's not just our personal co-agents. These co-agents are working with multiple agents, in some cases even publishers.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So these meetings are all about exposure then, like exposing everyone to our list. Are you negotiating offers at these meetings, or do they usually come after? Like, is post Frankfurt your busy season?
I have to say that I only had one preempt that I saw happening in the fair. Like, it used to be a lot more, and but I've only seen one happen, like in the fairs that I've been before when I didn't work for BookEnds. It's not that, like, for example, if you guys sell a giant book tomorrow, the fair is about what,
2,
a month
3
and a half away.
Oh,
yeah.
If you sell a book tomorrow that's like very big, that might happen.
Right.
But with the books that we have now, that they are already in the market, it's unlikely.
yeah.
Or they might come and make an offer, but, like, it's very important to say that I don't have the power to accept anything.
Right.
I have to talk to the agent, to the primary agent, and the agent has to talk to the author. Like, I don't have the power to accept anything. I can recommend the offer. I can, like, vouch for the publisher, for the co-agent, for whatever, but I don't have the power to accept anything on behalf of anybody.
Right.
And this is why, like, when us as agents are in offer calls and foreign rights comes up, we are always stressing, like, our team members. We are stressing, when I'm in an offer call, I'm stressing Anna and all of her expertise, because that is what we often rely on, right? Like, we are very immersed in the US markets, maybe Canadian and UK markets, but Anna is the one spearheading our global market outreach and talking to these people and knowing what's a good offer, what's not a good offer. So we are so often leaning on your expertise from when we are submitting something. Like, when we are submitting books, we're telling you about them so that you can tell us you should hang on to the foreign for that if you can when you're negotiating. Like, we rely on your expertise all throughout the process because of that reason. Like, because you are the one who is our face of international rights and gaining all of that knowledge that we don't necessarily have.
And something that authors need to keep in mind is that if they give the foreign rights to the publisher, they're going to have a fraction of the deals.
Right. You have to share. I always say you either share it with the publisher or you don't.
Yes, and if they keep the rights and I do the deal for them, they're gonna get the whole money from the deal.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So, and that is a conversation we have, like James said, like, what's the best course of action here? And sometimes there are books that we feel like it might not get that kind of traction in the market. Like, and that's where Anna's expertise comes in. Like, is this particular book one that is going to get traction?
And sometimes those rights are better served to leverage more from the publisher. And
Yes.
sometimes those rights are better served passing them off to honest, capable hands and reaping in all of those deals. Why am I not being able to speak? Reaping all of those deals directly to you.
And also, it's important to understand that all markets are very different.
So
So
different.
you might have $50,000 in one market and you might have $500 in another market.
Yeah,
That does not mean that the book has a lesser value in a
Right.
place or another place. It just means that the market is different.
well, you have a smaller country too. You have a much smaller buying audience.
So sometimes we see people say, oh, but I got this much in this place, so why is it so little in this other place?
Right.
So you just have to take into account everything. And there are some places where copyright doesn't even exist, so they could just like take and publish the book, and in those places they will offer you $100, and that's better than having your book stolen, right?
Right.
That's
So
interesting.
there's lots of things that you have to take into consideration. You cannot have like one recipe for everything.
Right. Oh,
And also sometimes we bet on a book and we think it's gonna sell a lot, and then it sells nothing. And it's not something that I cannot give you a figure. Like
no.
I can't ever tell you, oh, I think this book is gonna make this much in foreign rights. I can't, because the world is so crazy right now with all the wars and all the the tariffs and the changes in policy and in how taxes are charged and paid. So tomorrow there might be something else, and then I can't sell to this country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be
I
my
might
next
have to
question.
cancel contracts. There are lots of external factors that might change very quickly. And also another thing is like you can't sometimes you cannot think too much about past deals, because for example, one country was very prosperous 10 years ago and their currency was very strong, and then now the currency has devaluated, the economics are not good, so their offers are going to be smaller.
Right.
And we have to understand that we can't be, oh, but 10 years ago you paid this much.
Right.
So we really have to understand and not think that people are always trying to take advantage of us.
Right. Right. Definitely.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question that you answered. Like, how much does the news and real world events weigh in on your job? So, are you keeping up with all of those things just as much as you're keeping up with the co-agents then?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, we do. And this is also a conversation we have with the co-agents. So sometimes there's a series and they have to offer one by one, because if there's a book that is planned to be delivered in a year, they don't know if their country is gonna be there in a year. Like there's a war in their border,
Right. Right.
and it's difficult, and the currency is devaluating very fast, and so today they can buy the one book, but
Right.
they don't know if next year they will be able to pay for the next book that they have on contract.
Right.
So we need to understand, okay, so let's go book by book.
Yeah.
Well, I think you said this last week too, and we saw you. You probably said it way better than I'm going to say it. But, I think that, you know, it's so cool for authors to be able to get their books out there globally. But also, I think sometimes there's this really like important piece of getting books to people who aren't always getting books. So sometimes that $100 deal might not be the big money maker that's probably even going to buy you groceries, let's be honest, but it is getting books into the hands of people who aren't getting that many books. And that is also just, and you're getting paid for it. It's not getting stolen. It's not getting, you know, so I think that's a really cool part of your job too, is really just, you know, because we talk about the importance of books and being able to make that a global thing.
Yes, and like if there weren't these kinds of things, we would never learn about other cultures and
Right.
about other things, you know. And sometimes there's also like there are some American programs that they have programs. For example, once I sold a book that they would translate it into French and distribute like in some Caribbean and African countries. So it was a US department that bought the books, and it was a certain quantity, and they just distributed those books
Well,
in
that's
like
cool.
poor countries, let's say. So
That's
there
so
are lots
cool.
of cool things that happen in this in my line of work.
That is really cool. I also know that you have a special, because you're also a translator, you also advocate widely for AI clauses and contracts. And I think most everybody's doing this, but I think as a translator, this is especially important to you. And I know there's a lot that goes into the AI, but can you talk a little bit about what you're doing to protect translators and authors from
Mhm.
AI in the contracts you're doing?
Yes. So the thing is, I think that publishers don't really know what AI in translation is, because you know translators for many years have been using things called translation memory, which at the time we would not call AI, and today we would.
Okay.
And that's a good thing that can help you.
Right,
And but they don't know that, and
right.
they don't know how that works, you know.
Interesting.
And so we recently had somebody that said, oh, they want to acquire this book, but only if you agree to translate with AI.
Mm,
And I said, I can consider, but what are you going to use? If you're going to use translation memory, I can consider. So let me know what program you're going to
Oh, I
use.
love that.
You know,
Because I do
I
think there's a lot of broadness to the AI conversation that's missing things like I use Grammarly for my
mhm.
book, and I think that minutia is getting lost, the
And
nuance.
like I'm a Luddite. I don't use any of those things. I translate, oh, I still translate books, and I translate them completely by hand. And so these people came to me and they said, oh, we're going to use this program. So I went to my colleagues that are like more involved in the like bulk translation, because now I do translation as a hobby, right?
Right,
I'm not involved in like doing it day to day, because
right.
this is my day-to-day job. So I asked them and I said, what do you think about this thing? And they said, it's horrible, you
Uh-huh.
know, because you also have to think of something. Literary translation is not what makes a translator's living. You
Right,
know,
right,
it pays very little. It takes a long time. So what makes a translator's living is like translating bank reports. And bank reports is something where AI works. Why? Because it's the same thing every time,
right,
you know, so that works because it is the same thing every time. But literary, the same word has 5 different meanings.
right, right,
And the AI doesn't know what is the right meaning.
right.
You know, even my autocorrect
Right.
doesn't know,
No. Yeah.
you know. So for me, reviewing an AI translation is more work than doing it from scratch.
Interesting.
And so if the person thinks it's less work or it's gonna take less time, it doesn't work.
Right.
Whereas if they use a translation memory well, that's good.
Gotcha.
But for literary, it's difficult.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you miss
So you have to know how it's being used and what are you doing with it. Like I have to tell you that sometimes I've translated some art stuff that I could not understand, that was like completely crazy.
Right.
And I did put some phrases in automatic translation to say what are they going to tell me, like maybe I can make some sense if I see what it is, but not an entire thing.
Right.
And so maybe then I use that as starting point to understand what it is. I've done that. I'm
sure.
confess, like, it's a tool, but it can't be the whole thing.
Right. I
So
love that.
there are clauses that we can put in that basically stipulate that it can
we
be,
have those clauses.
and same for covers as well, like no
Exactly,
generative
it's the
AI.
same clause. And so the author has to approve, but that doesn't mean that you can use like Grammarly, that
Well, the difference between AI and generative AI.
It's fine that you use tools that help you.
Right.
Like I'm the queen of typos. If I don't have,
I don't know. I'm pretty good at them.
if I don't have something that have those red,
yes, I do know.
to show me, that would be a disaster because I don't reread everything that I write.
No.
I
do know.
They are tools, but you can't rely on them completely.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, and this is my last question for you. I'm sure Jessica will have a ton, but when does your job start? Like when do we
When in the publishing process?
Yeah. Like when do we tap you in? Like when are you starting the submission process, all of your work, like the real work that you're doing? When do you start that?
So the minute you guys tell me this book, we retain rights, I think that's when my job starts, because then I have to pay attention to when the book's gonna be published, when we're going to have materials. So when am I going to send to the co-agents? When am I going to start to pitch it? Because there's also timing. If you're selling a book now that's going to publish in 2028, I'm not gonna start pitching it right away, because you don't have a manuscript. You don't have anything to give to me. So if I put this book in my rights guide now, people, oh, I like this book. Can you give me materials? Sorry, I don't have anything. And then the next fair, they're going to say, oh, what about this book that I asked you last time? Oh, I still don't have anything.
Right.
And 3 times like that. And the 4th time, when I send to them, it looks like it's old.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult balance in making the book sound new and having it in a feasible time.
Right.
Because the other thing is that more and more people around the world are reading English, and more publishers in the US and in the UK are working so that their editions are sold in the foreign market in the same day that they're published in their original countries. So that cuts our possibility of selling translations in a lot of countries. So, and those are usually more the Northern European countries, all the Nordic countries, and like the Netherlands, where everybody speaks English. So they have lots of bookstores that only sell English books.
Right.
And you find English books in all the regular bookstores as well. So for those, they have to plan to have the book published either with the US publication or as soon as possible. So for those, we have like to work in a way that we pitch in with feasible time that they can publish it quickly. And also the other thing is that we have to give them the materials soon enough that they have time to translate, because translation it takes time.
Yeah.
And when you have a 600-page book, it's a lot of time.
I can't
You
imagine.
can't do it from like in a month.
Right, definitely.
So like we also have to count on the goodwill of the publishers to give us those manuscripts, because sometimes they don't want to.
Sometimes it can be a little bit of a wrestling match.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So, well, this is fantastic. And I just want to say that you coming on board have made a significant difference in what we've been able to do for our clients and the sales we're getting them and getting them all over the world. And it's been fun. And I don't think we're as excited about Frankfurt as you are, because we'll still be here. But we are very excited to hear all the tales when you get back and when you put us to work and tell us all the things we need to now get to you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the channel, Anna, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next week.
Bye.